The only people really at leisure are those who take time for philosophy. So who are the only ones not wasting their time?
Scam.
Philosophers. Let me explain. Philosophy is two words together. Philo, which means love, and Sophia, which, sorry, I spelled the person's name, not the word. Sophia, which means wisdom. So philosophy means love of wisdom. It comes from a statement from Socrates. Socrates said that you can't really know anything, but people who seek, you can't know absolute truth, but you can pursue it. You can try to get closer to it. And he referred to people who pursue truth, even though they'll never get there, as philosophers, people who love wisdom. So a philosopher is someone who loves wisdom. So he says here, the only people at leisure who take time for philosophy, people who seek wisdom and they seek truth. Now, again, he's not talking about a person who goes out, studies proper philosophy, gets a degree, becomes a professor. He's saying that the best way to spend your life is to seek truth. And that shouldn't be anything that surprises most of us, because there's nothing that's more powerful in the universe than truth. I mean, to pursue truth is to pursue reality itself. And there's nothing that's more powerful than reality. Every lie falls away when it's compared to reality. We might think that's not true. People believe false stuff all the time. It takes time, but we end up finding the truth. In other words, all those things eventually do dissipate, and the only thing that remains at the end of everything is truth. In fact, truth is the very thing that sets us free. And so this is why when he said the only people who are really at leisure, the only people who are really doing this are the people who are seeking truth. They're seeking wisdom. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to sit there and contemplate only the deepest ideas, but it means that whatever it is that you're pursuing, let it be something that you're pursuing the truth about. Don't let it be something that's inauthentic. If you're referring to people who love wisdom, he says, they alone really live. So only those people who seek truth are the ones who really do fully live. It is not their lifetime alone, and this is why it's important. It's not their lifetime alone of which they're careful stewards. They annex every age to their own. To annex is to take control of. So he's saying it's not just their own lives that they live. Where is truth to be found? Everywhere. This is part of the problem when we say things like, Scott, come on, it's 2022. Things are different today. Yeah, kind of. The human condition isn't changed. It isn't that things are more or less true in 2022. I like when students will tell me that. They'll say, oh, come on, it's 2022. That's good. Now I can let the historians know exactly when civilization began to collapse. Thanks for identifying the year for me. But we have this tendency to think that whatever's happening today is where truth is to be found. Because that's the way things are now. Things change. Things change. Truth doesn't change. Things change. Truth doesn't change. If you found truth in 2022, that's wonderful. And that should correspond to the same truth that you found in 1494 or whatever. And that should be the same kind of a truth that you found in the year 614 or whatever. In other words, if it's true, it's consistent throughout the ages. It isn't true just for a time. And that means that you have to, as a philosopher, you have to be somebody who's open-minded and willing to pull truth from wherever it is, as uncomfortable as it is, or as comfortable as it is. I know some people who get so caught up in themselves being academic and being intellectual, and you'll ask them what they've listened to, and they're listening to Mozart. And they'll go, wait, let me. And they'll listen to it. Oh, it's divine. I'm sorry, what were you saying? And I'll say, oh, I went to go see Cardi B last night. That's what I was saying. It's like, oh, you listen to that? And I'm always like, oh, you don't? Don't you know it's 2022? Is Mozart great? Like, yeah, listen to him. Is Cardi B great?
No.
I don't know. Do you think so? You tell me. Yeah, it's interesting. How many of you guys listen to Mozart and go? How many of you guys listen to Cardi B and go, wait. Oh, there it was. Divine. But you do sit there and you tap your toe. In other words, it's something that still gets inside of you, and you're like, huh. And not to be a jerk, but I mean, Cardi B has sold more records than Mozart, hasn't she? And so that doesn't mean that just because something sells a lot, it's great. But what it does mean is that just because something sells a lot doesn't mean it's not great. And just because something comes out in 2022 and uses a different language or a different slang than you use, that doesn't mean it's trash. It just means it's different. And if you shut yourself off to that and say, nothing good has been produced since the 15th century, well, then you're losing 600 years of great stuff that you could be getting out of life. And by the way, if truth has been discovered since then, you're missing out on truth also. The problem is that we shut ourselves off and we just figure, nothing that came before this one time period is of any value. Young people just don't know anything. You guys know stuff? Yeah, you guys know stuff about the world that you're living in right now. And if you don't, if people don't listen to what you're saying, by the way, just because what you're saying, the thing that they say, well, young people, you are the future. And we all go, yeah, we're the future. You're the future. You're not the present. Understand that. You're not the present. In order to become, you will be the present someday, but you're not. Because you don't have the wisdom. You don't have the life experience. You don't have the, you might say, but I'm talking, look around you. I'm talking about the people all around us. Can we all acknowledge that? I hope that you're sitting in your math class, that you look at the person next to you who's, I don't know, trying to put paper clips up their nose to see how many they can put. Do you really want to look at that person and go, that person should be president today? You will be, but just like the present generation, and it doesn't mean that the present generation is doing things well, and that doesn't mean you're going to either. I don't know. I hope I'm around for it. I really want to see what the hell you guys come up with. I want to be in the supermarket and go, what? They're doing what? So just because something is from a different age doesn't mean it's wrong. And just because it's from a different age doesn't mean it's right. A philosopher is someone who can sit there and say, yeah, what came out here is correct. A philosopher is someone who can sit there and go, yeah, what happened here was correct, no matter where it is, and be able to put it together. And that's a person who seeks real truth. Finally, in the 10th paragraph, in the meanwhile,